scat, swim.
Hi, I'm John. We'll be looking at snakes.
Hi, I'm Dina. We'll take a trip to the planetarium. Hi, I'm Heidi. We'll see how a garden grows.
Hi, I'm Tibbs. We'll visit Terminal C at Houston's Intercontinental Airport.
Stick around for Country Kidsworld. It's going to be a really neat show.
We will return after these messages.
The Legoland gas station. You build it for action. You can raise a car up on the lift and check the underside, or fill her up, close the hood, and pretend to take a ride. What can you do with the new Public Works Center? You can build a crane and watch it drop some bricks into a bin, or lift the door, roll out the truck, and let the bricks fall in.
The action's up to you.
The Legoland Public Works Center from the Legoland Town Collection. Legoland gas station sold separately from Lego Systems.
New donuts. Well, they look like donuts too, taste like powdered donuts too. New donuts.
A donut cereal!
But they're little crisp and light, crunch in every bite. New donuts.
They're delicious!
Part of this breakfast that's nutritious. It's donuts. Delicious. New donuts.
The cereal that looks and tastes like donuts!
New donuts. Delicious.
Now back to the program.
Students at the Cornelius Math Science Academy study lots of interesting things. One of their projects at Ciarama was on snakes. Here's their report on pythons, cobras, and rattlesnakes.
Hi, I'm James Mays.
And I'm Newbie Porto.
From Cornelius Math Science Academy, which is a magnet school in Houston.
And we're here at Ciarama Marine World, here to ask Hal Newsom about the snakes. Hal, how did you first get interested in snakes?
Well, actually, I started when I was a little bit smaller than you in a small town in the Panhandle called Muleshoe. I was about 6 or 7, and like being with any other country kid, I pretty well was raised around the different animals, the wild type mainly, and just always was interested in snakes, and my interest just grew, and as you can see, it's grown quite large.
Hal, what kind of snake is this?
This is a Burmese python. This particular one here comes out of Southeast Asia, mainly out of Bangkok is where we get these from. And he's about 5 years old and about 8 feet long and about 35 pounds. Now when she's full grown, she will be about 18 to 20 feet long and she'll weigh about 250 to 350 pounds. And she can feed on anything from dogs, cats, rabbits, chicken, and even small children once she gets older. Now the head itself has several hundred teeth in it, which basically when the snake grabs its victim for lunch, it'll usually grab them by the head, and the teeth are pointed backward. This is so that when the victim starts to wiggle and squirm, the teeth will sink deeper and deeper into them. Then they'll begin to wrap around them and start to squeeze them. They don't crush bones or break bones like a lot of people think they do. They actually restrict the breathing and suffocate their prey. Then they begin to swallow it. Now they do swallow their prey whole. They're not capable of tearing out chunks of meat and chewing it up. A meal about the size of a young dog would take probably 30-40 minutes to get down, then she'd sleep it off for a couple of weeks. Now this here is the monocled cobra, which is basically what we use. Now one of the common questions that we're asked almost every day is how come this snake doesn't spit at us? Now this is not a spitting cobra. There are about 6 varieties of cobras that do spit, but obviously we couldn't use one of those types because we do work with the snakes pretty well in close contact. And all of our snakes do have their fangs and they do have their venom. They have not been altered in any way. We usually average about 1 snake bite out here a year. It used to be 3 or 4, and we pretty well cut that down. Now as you can see here, as the snake is facing me, now that hood is actually a nervous reaction. The snake doesn't even know he's doing it. He gets nervous, he gets scared, and he forms a hood, which is actually caused by elongated ribs which spread apart. Kind of like the rattlesnake. The rattlesnake will get nervous or excited and he starts shaking his tail. He doesn't even know he's doing it either. Now, you notice on the back of the hood, that's your monocle. That's how the snake gets its name. Now, you do have 2 varieties of common cobras, which is just to be in the monocle, and then you have also your spectacle. This particular snake here comes out of Bangkok. Now, he also has neurotoxic venom, which works on your nervous system, whereas your rattlesnake is basically hemotoxic, works on your tissue. Now, the cobra is not near as fast as your rattlesnake or your other vipers. He basically hoods up and he strikes out and forward and down, where most of your other snakes, they curl up and then they lunge more or less forward like a spring. Now you can pretty well judge the distance of a strike on a cobra by how high up he is. The farther up he is, the farther out he can go on a strike. And also, as long as you watch his eyes, you can pretty well tell what he's going to do before he does it. Now the cobra especially the monocle, they basically feed on small rodents and birds. Now your king cobra gets up to about 18 feet in length, where this type here only gets to about 6 feet. This particular one is a large specimen, especially for the monocled cobra here.
Is it true that you could tell the age of the rattlesnake by how many rattles it has?
Not really. A lot of people think that you can, but that's not true. Now this is the western diamondback rattlesnake. Now you can probably hear the rattlers shaking here. Obviously that's the way the snake gets his name. Now as far as the age of a rattlesnake, there's really no way you can tell. Each time the snake sheds his skin, he'll add a new segment to the rattler. And depending on his food supply, he can shed anywhere from 3 to 5 times a year. And also, as you can see with this one, he has quite a few on there, but they're blunted off at the end, kind of like the set that you have there. Now, if he had a full set of rattlers, they'd be pointed on the end. And again, there's really no way that you can tell the age. Now, the rattlesnake can strike, recoil, and strike again in about a half a second. They are exceptionally fast. Now, the rattling noise that you're hearing is like, same with the cobra. It's a nervous reaction. The snake doesn't even know it's doing it. Now, we'd recommend really strong with the kids. Now, if they're interested in the snakes, that's fine, but they need to learn about it the right way with professional handlers or teachers or people at the zoo. But don't play with snakes. If you find one in your backyard, you leave it alone. You go home and get your mother. But again, we really recommend strongly for the kids to leave snakes alone. The best thing to do is go to a pet shop and purchase one that you know is a harmless snake, and then keep it for a pet and learn about it from that. But just don't go out and find one.
Thanks, Al, for showing us your friends here. This is Nubia Porto
And James Mays reporting for Country Kidsworld.
Now that was a creepy story.
Well, our next story will make you feel better. It's about swimmers who are members of SCAT.
SCAT stands for Space City Aquatic Team. And here's a report from champion swimmer Chris Carlisle.
Hello, my swim team SCAT welcomes you here today. SCAT, which stands for the Space City Aquatic Team, is the #1 swim team in Texas in both short course and long course. We have state champions and nationally ranked swimmers here on SCAT. Today I'd like to introduce you to my coach, John Pennington. Coach, will you tell us about age group swimming?
Yes, Chris. The United States is broken up into 60 local associations called Local Swimming Committee. Our association is called the Golf Swimming Committee. We have 5 age groups competing: the 10 and under, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, both boys and girls. We compete in local meets, state meets, regional meets, and then as the swimmers get better, we go to national competition. We have 2 seasons, just like track. We have an indoor season and an outdoor season. During our indoor season, which runs from September until April, we swim in a 25-yard pool. In the long course season, which runs from May through August, we swim in a 50-meter outdoor pool. All our events in an outdoor pool are what we call Olympic events, or they are swum long course, which is what you would swim in the Olympics. Short course is basically just with the United States, and these records will only count as United States records.
What is a good age to start competitive swimming, and what water safety do we teach new swimmers?
Many people have different ideas of when to start a competitive swimmer. We will start a swimmer at the age of 5 in a very low pressure instructional type situation. We don't like to see them get into heavy competition until they get in the 7 or 8 year old range. Water safety, yeah, basically we just teach them to be water safe, such as how to react around the pool, not to run, not to horseplay. In the water, we teach them the 4 strokes and just the normal safety that any swimmer would learn.
What are the 4 basic strokes?
Probably we should start with the freestyle, which is done on the front and one arm at a time with a flutter kick. This is probably the oldest stroke known to man. It is a stroke that John Weissmuller had broke all the records a long, long time ago. It's also the fastest stroke. This is the stroke most used in competitive swimming and probably the first one taught. From there we go into the butterfly, which is also done on the front, only both arms move at the same time. They must recover out of the water at the same time, pull through at the same time, and with this we do what we call a fishtail or dolphin kick. It's a very beautiful stroke to watch, although because both arms are moving at the same time out of the water, it's probably the hardest stroke to do and the most tiresome. From there we go to the breaststroke, which is also done on the front. This is done with what normally is called a frog kick. It's most associated with a frog because it resembles quite a bit the way the frog swims. And then the last stroke would be the backstroke. Is the only stroke that is done on the back. It's very difficult to keep the body position. You must keep the hips up, the head back. Both arms are moving at different times, such as in the freestyle stroke, but they must enter the water behind the head and pull through. With this, also a flutter or a alternating kick with the legs is used up towards the surface.
This is Nancy McRae. She is a member of our national group. She competed in the Russian junior meet this summer. Would you tell us about that, Nancy?
Well, I was picked from one of the top 15-year-olds from the national championships, and we swam against the Russians the girls were 15 and under and the guys were 18 and under, and we competed against them. It was the last weekend in August, and well, we beat them real good.
What was your favorite thing about swimming?
I swam the 200 fly. I placed third, and I swam the 100 fly exhibition.
One thing about swimming is that there usually is a distance or a stroke for everybody. This is a peculiar stroke, a sport, because nobody has to sit on the bench in this sport. Everybody practices and everybody swims at the same time. It's an individual sport, yet we score the meets, so it's also a team sport.
How would you sign up for SCAT or any other team?
Well, there are about 28 teams in our local association, which includes Houston, Beaumont, College Station, and the outlying areas. If you lived within an area of SCAT, all you would have to do is call 488-7660 and express a desire to join the team. All teams, it's very easy to join any team. If you call that number and you live in another part of the city, I could give you the team closest to where you live.
I hope we've interested young people in competitive swimming. We're proud of our team, and we appreciate Country Kidsworld for coming out and visiting us. This is Chris Carlisle reporting from League City.
Those kids know how to churn up the water, don't they? Don't go away. Cabbage, Baggage, and Stars will be coming up next on Country Kidsworld.
We will return after these messages.
The new Legoland Fire Station. You build it for action. You can raise the door, push the truck, pretend that there's a fire. To get the crew up closer, you can raise the ladder higher. Or how about Legoland Main Street? You can drive up a truck, crank the crane, and raise a heavy load. Or open the door, man the car, and steer it down the road.
The action's up to you.
The Legoland Main Street from the Legoland Town Collection. Legoland Fire Station sold separately from Lego Systems.
If you ever want to see a lollywink, just blink. Well, go ahead. Blink. This is the magical land of the lollywinks, where almost anything can happen. A land that can change seasons with the lift of Rifkin's brush. It's where you'll find Erfo Offengoop, who's often goofing off. And it's where we made a special record album on K-Tel Records, available at these and other fine stores.
Now back to the program.
Since most kids like to dig in the dirt, we might as well go ahead and plant something. Here's Mr. Perkins to show us how to grow useful things like food and pretty things like plants and flowers.
So I'm Don Perkins, the coordinator of Lantrip Ecology School, which is one of the magnet schools in HISD. Today we're going to talk a little bit about gardening in Houston. Houston's a great place to garden because we can grow things year-round. And here it's kind of a crisp fall day, but we're planting some plants that will grow real well throughout the winter. And as a matter of fact, they grow better in the fall than they do in the summer. These plants won't grow at all in the summer. We've got today, we're going to plant a few vegetables and some flowers that'll bloom for us this winter. Amongst the vegetables are members of the cabbage family. This is a red cabbage that I like because it's so pretty. It tastes just as good as the green cabbage, but it's a real pretty plant as it grows. For flowers, we're going to put stock in. This is the stock. It has real beautiful and very good smelling flowers. And then the pansy. These things will start flowering, in 3 or 4 weeks after we plant them. The pansies will start first, and the stock will start sometime around the first of the year. I want to have some of the children that attend Lathrop plant these plants for you. Okay, Shannon and Carl and Chad are planting cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower. And these are small plants right now, but they're spaced quite a ways apart. Now the reason for that is that as these plants grow, they put on huge leaves. And if they were put close together, there just wouldn't be enough room for the roots to develop properly, and we wouldn't get good cabbage or broccoli or cauliflower out of the plant. So this is the a Chinese cabbage and the red purple cabbage that we're planting in this bed where the fellows are working, and it shows how large this plant will get. These we planted about a month ago, and they're already a real good-sized plant. The fellows are now mulching the plants they put in. Mulch is a material that's put down around the plant, and it helps keep the moisture in the soil about the same. The soil doesn't dry out as fast. It keeps the temperature from changing a lot. And you can use leaves or hay. In this case, we've got a mixture of hay and horse manure that we went over to one of the local stables and picked up. This has been rotting, so it's broken down, and the manure and hay will provide a lot of nutrients for the plants. In between these cabbage plants, we've got an awful lot of extra space left over, so we're going to plant some radishes. Now, you can get a package of radishes for 40 cents or 50 cents at the grocery store or the hardware store or any of the nurseries around town. And radishes are a real good crop to grow because they only take about 3 or 4 weeks from the time you plant them until they come up and you can eat them. Now, plant these radishes. All we have to do here, our ground is already worked up, so we're just going to make a little row about 1/4 of an inch deep in between these plants. Then I'm going to take a few of the radish seeds and plant them about, 1 inch apart down the row. I don't want them to be much closer than 1 inch apart. You have to be kind of careful and take your time at it. Then we'll do another row. Then I'm just going to cover this row over, pat it down real well, and after we get all of these planted, we'll come back and water. The seed has to have water for the first 2 or 3 days to germinate, so we'll water it every day for about 3 days, and then we'll start seeing the plants coming up. I think in about a month we'll be able to pull these radishes and eat them. Here we have a bed of the stock and pansies that are good flowers for the winter months. We've got these plants spaced a lot closer together than we did the cabbage because they don't grow nearly as large. In a few minutes, the fellows are going to plant take them out of the pot and plant these plants. Then we'll mulch them. And I think that in about a month, these pansies will be blooming. And it should be a real pretty corner. So hopefully when you all come back out, we'll be able to see this bed in bloom. If you have any questions about plants or animals or any ideas about programs you'd like to see, write me, Don Perkins, care of Two Country Kidsworld, P.O. Box 2222, Houston 77001. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for the tips, Mr. Perkins. Now, if you like to see stars, don't bash your head against a wall. It's easier and much less painful to see stars at the planetarium.
I'm Amy Milhauser. I'm reporting for Two Country Kidsworld. We're at the Burke Baker Planetarium. I am talking with the planetarium curator. What does a planetarium do?
Well, Amy, a planetarium makes the star field like you see at night in the evening sky. It shows you the stars and constellations and planets, and it can take you actually anywhere in the world to see what the star field would look like at other places. For example, Australia, the South Pole, or even the North Pole. We can show you what the star field looks like everywhere. And plus, we have many other special effects to show you eclipses and various other astronomical phenomena like meteors, meteor showers, bolides, and fireballs. So it's really a fascinating place to visit because it takes visitors in space to let you see what's going on.
How does the planetarium make the stars and move them?
Well, the planetarium makes stars by use of this instrument behind us here. This is actually called the planetarium. We call it a star projector here, but it does really more than make stars. It makes also planets. But the main thing it does is make stars, and you can see the end of the projector here has tiny little holes and lenses, and there's a light inside of this little ball, and the light shines through these little holes and lenses onto the dome above us and makes a star field just exactly like what you'd see outside.
What is the echo in here?
Because the echo is created by this room. The dome shape of the room is created so that the star field will look very much like you'd see outside. Instead of having a flat ceiling, it wouldn't look good if you had a flat ceiling, so we have to make a dome. So the dome creates an echo effect because it's kind of like standing inside of a big speaker. Your voice reflects off of the ceiling and back over to some other part of the room. So just a few people talking can make a lot of noise in a planetarium.
Where are the controls for the projectors?
Well, the controls for the planetarium projector is located in the back of the room behind the audience. As the audience sits in the room, there's a console operator that sits at looks like something like an airplane cockpit. Part of the console has an area that controls the star projector in the center of the room. We can move it 3 different ways so that we can show you what the star field looks like in different areas of the Earth. Also, there are projectors for the constellations. You can show the outlines of each constellation on the dome, give you an idea of what they're supposed to look like. Then we have special effects that project a scene across the dome. This is called a panorama system. You can see a scene of maybe what the surface of one of the other planets may look like, or a scene in Egypt, Christmas scene. We have different panoramas for many different uses. Then we have projectors that show what the planets look like in the star field, and various other specialized effects that we may use just briefly in a show to illustrate or highlight something that we're talking about during a program, a cloud or a nova or supernova, a bolide effect. Many different effects can be controlled just from one console operator sitting at that instrument panel.
Thank you, Mr. McElveen. This is Amy Milhauser reporting for Two Country Kidsworld. Now let's join a bunch of other kids and see a show.
If you'd like to see the same show these kids saw, here's a schedule of the Burt Baker Planetarium shows. Wednesday at 4 p.m., Friday at 4 and 8 p.m., Saturday at 2, 3, and 4 p.m., Sunday at 2, 3, and 4 p.m. And if you forget the times, call 526-4273. They'll be glad to tell you when the shows will be performed.
Our next report is from a kid who wrote to us about the brand new Terminal C at Houston Intercontinental Airport. We sent out a camera crew, and here's the story.
My name is Robert Smith. We are at Houston Intercontinental Airport, new Terminal C. With me is Mr. Rich Savage, Regional Vice President of Texas International Airlines. Mr. Savage, could someone like me be able to fly by themselves?
Robert, you bet. We at Texas International carry children from 12 to 112. When you come out, either with your parents or with whoever brings you out, we at TI have made special provisions for accommodating children who travel by themselves. First thing we'd have you do would be to check in with one of our special representatives in their special red jackets.
who are here just to take care of people like you. The first thing we would do would be to give you a special button that says, I'm traveling by myself on TI, so we can spot you quickly. We'd probably have you checked in. We would take your luggage if you have any, and take care of your ticket and get you on board the right aircraft.
Mr. Savage, what happens to the luggage after I leave?
Robert, that's one of the most interesting questions that's ever been asked. Many people wonder sometimes where it all goes. What we do is, here at Terminal C at Texas International, we have a new system that reads all of our luggage with a special laser camera. So once we took your luggage and put a special tag on it, it would go down our belt into our new bag system, and there be read by special cameras and put on board the proper airplane.
Mr. Savage, what if I wanted to bring my pet with me?
Robert, we'd be just as happy to carry your favorite pet, too. We'd be happy to put your favorite pet in special kennels designed for air travel, and your pet can travel right along with you in the underside of the aircraft to your final city.
Does the animal, my favorite pet, go with the other bags?
It sure does, but where the bags go are pressurized and heated, so you don't have to worry about the comfort of your pet.
How many airplanes does Texas International own?
Robert, Texas International currently owns 32 airplanes from here in Houston at Terminal C. We have 68 daily departures to all 35 of our cities.
By the way, there's a new feature that Texas International has for kids. Could you tell me about it?
You bet. We're really excited about this one. In case you have some time before your airplane departs, or if you're coming into Houston and changing airplanes, we have a special room down in the gate area with color TV and Cokes where you can sit and wait for your airplane. So it's a nice special room built just for handling kids.
This is Robert Smith reporting for Two Country Kidsworld. I'd like to thank Mr. Savage for giving us this tour.
Robert, I'd like to thank you and Two Country Kidsworld for letting us show you our newest house for Texas International. Thank you very much.
We want to thank the people who work at Terminal C for that big welcome sign they put up for Two Country Kidsworld the day we were there. We appreciate it.
If you have a report you'd like to do for the show, write us at this address, Two Country Kidsworld, P.O. Box 2222, Houston, Texas 77001. And don't forget to send us your telephone number.
When your story is used, we'll send you a check for $5, a Star Reporter stick-on, and a Sky 2 helicopter patch.
Listen, kids, here's something you can tell your teachers. Channel 2 has a TV news game that the station will send out every week to social studies teachers. Kids like to play the game, and teachers like the way it makes kids aware of what's happening in the news.
The social studies teachers will send their names and the name and address of their school to Channel 2 TV News Game, Box 2222, Houston 77001. They'll be added to the mailing list to receive Channel 2's TV News Game free of charge every week of the school year. Don't forget to tell your teachers next Monday, here?
It's that time again. I'm Jerry Eckert, inviting you to be with us again next week, same time, same place, for another view of life in Two Country Kidsworld. See ya.